What's up, everybody? It's Jotham. I have another story on tap for you guys for our third edition of the Storytime Special. Drew, I told you last week I was gonna go a little more recent this week, take it within high school.
You did, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it sucks because you were 1 year away from witnessing this story yourself. Because this was the year
Uh-oh.
before we met.
Okay, so it was my freshman year, your sophomore year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So Huh. I was writing for the Voyager. It was my first year as sports writer for the
hmm
Voyager. Basically, what the shoes you were in this year. Um, I it was my first year, and obviously, sports section we talked about sports. And we I everybody in the sports section was a senior except for me. We had three other seniors. Um, and obviously we were tuning into the NFL season, the 2018 NFL season, which was by far one of the probably the craziest NFL season I had ever witnessed. This was the season when the Detroit Lions beat the New England Patriots. This was the
Yes,
season when the Cincinnati Bengals were flexed into a primetime Sunday night football game. That
crazy year.
Yeah, crazy year. This was the year that Baker Mayfield really started coming into his own as a NFL quarterback. This was the year that the Chicago Bears made the playoffs and quite frankly had Super Bowl talks until Double Doink happened. This was the year a lot of stuff happened. This was the year that we saw the first edition, the original edition of Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. And this was the year when playoff races were a real blast to watch. But speaking of that playoff race, there's one playoff race in particular that really, really caught my eye in 2018. So, 4 weeks into the NFL season in the AFC North, this story is centered around the AFC North. So, going into after week 4, these were the standings. The Ravens were leading the division. They were 3-1. The Bengals were actually tied for the lead as well. They were 3-1 too. And the Steelers and the Browns were at the bottom of the division at 1-2-1. So I went into school and I had the guts to say something that actually happened exactly 3 months later. I went into the class and said after week 4, guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to make the playoffs. Everybody thought
Mm.
I was crazy. Everybody thought I was absolutely just losing my mind. They were like, what? Jotham, Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Chris Boswell is the kicker, Antonio Brown. You think this team is not going to make the playoffs? I said, nope. I do not think this team is going to make the playoffs. No, not just not win the division, not make the playoffs. And so one of my fellow sports writers had, the senior on sophomore confidence to step up to me and say, Jotham, I bet if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, I'll give you a donut.
That was almost anticlimactic. I was expecting like $100, like maybe $5, but a donut. I mean, I am fine. I eat a donut.
Yeah, dude, but I was like, a donut? I said, nah, dude, bump that up to Culver's fries. And
Ooh.
I was taunting him because he loves to go out after class when we have production night. He loves to go out and get him some food. Get him some other food other than pizza,
Mm.
snack on something else. And I was like, nah, next time you go to Culver's, you're getting me some fries. I was getting my money's worth, Drew.
Okay, so I guess that's better than a donut. I agree. I
Yeah, because I wouldn't go do him like that. I wasn't gonna make him get me a whole chicken box, a whole 5 piece tender.
agree. Yeah, give me that, a drink, a fry. Give me all that.
Yeah, give me large
No.
everything, extra large.
Yeah.
Oh man, but no, I settled for Culver's fries, and then he was like, "Deal, dude, you're not gonna win." And I said, "Dude, I'm looking at this team. It's not looking real good, man." And so the weeks go on, and dude, you know how sometimes I have some terrible prediction luck.
I was about to say that you were bold in 2018 and you're still bold in 2020, so
Yeah, I had some bad prediction luck because That was week 4. The Steelers went from 1-2-1 to 6-2-1 in the next 5 weeks. They won 5 straight games after I said that. 6 straight actually.
Wow, that is almost unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is. And then, well, the Bengals, you knew they were going to fizzle out. They actually had a game against the Steelers, and the Steelers won that game on a game-winning touchdown by Antonio Brown, and I was like, ah, crap, I'm gonna lose this bet. I'm like, oh no, man. And then the Ravens went on to lose for the next 5, and I'm just like, oh no. And here were the division standings going into Week 10. The Ravens third in the AFC North, 4-5. The Bengals second in the AFC North, 5-4, and the Steelers right back on top of the division at 6-2-1.
Yeah, that definitely turned around.
Yeah, that was bad. But for this story, with a 180 comes another 180
Uh
because
oh.
because dude, after week 10, I just told you about the standings and stuff. The Steelers were 7-2. They went to 7-2-1, while the Ravens were 5-5, letting Lamar Jackson get his action in for the very first time.
Mhm.
And obviously, we didn't, back then we didn't expect too much from the Ravens, because they just benched Joe Flacco. Now they got a rookie quarterback in
Yeah.
there. What are we supposed to expect? This dude isn't going to make no run or anything like that. Well, in the preceding weeks after week 11, week 12, the Steelers played the Denver Broncos. Pretty good close game and stuff. But Ben Roethlisberger threw another
Oh.
interception in the end zone to Shelby Harris, I believe, and the Broncos won in Mile High.
Wait, was that the game where Juju had that really long touchdown?
Yes, that like
Okay.
90 some yarder. Yeah, he that was
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah, the Steelers went on to lose that game. Now they're 7-3-1. So going into next week, they had their prime time. They had their game against the Chargers flexed in the prime time. It was Sunday Night Football.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, because the Chargers were so good that year. Um, but man, you know exactly how that game played out. The Steelers went back and forth with the Chargers. Chargers had a really good comeback. They were down 23-7, and they won the game after the Steelers went offsides on the field goal attempt
Dude,
3 times.
3 times. I just remember every single time they would go offsides trying to block it. That was a very exciting game. That was one of my favorite games from that year.
Yes, and I obviously wanted the Chargers to win because
Yeah.
one of the Chargers were one of my favorite teams for one. Two, I had the bet on the line,
Yeah.
so I'm sitting there watching the game with my mom, watching the finish with my mom, and I see that the kicker missed the field goal. And I said, "Are you kidding me? We're going to go to overtime. You have got to be absolutely kidding me." Then I see the flag, and there was offsides. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Wow." So then they, re-kick. And this time, I blatantly saw the dude jump off sides. Like, he was way off sides, but they blocked the kick. And I was like, "Wow, that's not going to count." Oh my gosh, we're gonna have a third field goal attempt because they went off sides twice. And then of course the third time he actually made it. Even though they were off sides for the third straight time. They were so quick. It was so hilarious how the ref was like, offsides defense, penalties decline, game over.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, it was hilarious, man. And so I'm like, wow, those are two big losses for the Steelers. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, that was pretty cool. And so going into week 13, the division got even tighter. The Ravens are 7-5 and the Steelers were 7-4-1. Whew,
Hmm.
pretty tight, right?
Yeah.
So going into week 14, the Ravens had that game against the Chiefs. Um and they almost and the thing about that year was that's the year Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes exploded, man.
Yeah.
That's when they both really took off. Um but Patrick Mahomes showed his magic. Um, I don't know if you remember a fourth down bomb that he threw to Tyreek Hill with the game on the line. The Chiefs were down 24-17. It was 4th and 9. Mahomes was rolling out, and he just launched a football down the field, and Tyreek Hill just caught it, made the Ravens defenders look silly. There were like 2, 3 Ravens around Tyreek Hill, and
Yeah,
he caught it running with it, not jumping. He just
yeah,
caught it and ran with it. I was like, what?
yeah. That was a pretty crazy game.
Yeah, and then of course, the Chiefs scored a touchdown on another 4th down, went into overtime because the Lamar Jackson actually got strip sacked in Chiefs territory, and the Chiefs moved up for a 43-yard field goal, but Harrison Bucker missed it. So that's why we went to overtime. But then they went to overtime, and well, Chiefs won it.
Yeah, that I knew you were almost disappointed due to the fact that you kind of wanted the Ravens to win, but you did like the Chiefs.
Oh no, I love the Chiefs, but
So I'm guessing that was a tough game to pick your winner.
yeah, it was very tough, man. I was like, on one hand, I mean, you know those games where you just have two teams that you really like going up against each other, and you just want a good game. You really don't care
Yeah,
who wins.
yeah,
Yeah, that was that type of game.
I feel that.
Yeah, but on the other side, um, Oakland had a game against the Steelers, and I was thinking, that's a gimme game for the Steelers. And Juju Smith Schuster had a highlight reel toe tap touchdown. It was
Yeah, yeah, I
amazing.
remember that.
It was
Yeah,
amazing. But then again, um, the Raiders, they came up clutch. They scored a touchdown to put them up 24-21 late in the game. Um, but the Steelers still had a chance. Juju Smith Schuster had like a hook or lateral play or something like that to put them
hmm
in field goal position really, like really late. And they had to spike the ball or something like that. And they
yeah.
set up Chris Boswell for a field goal.
That sounds like the Steelers. All right.
Yeah, very well. Sounds like the Steelers. And this was the year that Chris Boswell got that contract extension because the year before he was hitting all these game-winning field goals.
Yeah.
But in Oakland, he slipped. He slipped. He freaking slipped, and he nowhere near got the kick off. The kick actually, I think the kick hit an offensive lineman.
That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah, he slipped, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" The Pittsburgh Steelers lost to a tanking Oakland Raiders team. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was big for you.
Oh yeah, real big for me. So obviously the tension was building up, man. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is getting crazy." But I mean, the Steelers and the Ravens traded losses, so the Steelers were still leading the division because well, they had a tie, not the extra loss.
hmm
But the next week, the Ravens beat the Buccaneers. So the Steelers had a very highly anticipated late season rematch with the New England Patriots. Um, and the year before that, it was the Jesse James no catch game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember that at the goal line.
At the goal line, and then Ben Roethlisberger threw an interception in the end zone that just absolutely. I mean, that game still resides in my memory. I remember watching it downstairs. I was like, "Oh, the game was so crazy, dude! It was so crazy,
Yeah.
insane." But obviously, there was a rematch this year, and I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, let's see what happens here." Now, personally, this was a game that I kind of wanted the Steelers. I wouldn't mind the Steelers winning. Um,
hmm
because well, I mean, it was one of those double whammy games because if the Steelers won, then that's a dent on my bet. But if the Steelers win, then the Patriots get dropped in the standings a little bit.
hmm
So the Steelers ended up winning the game. It was a great game to watch. Um, Brady had a chance to tie the game, but broken up. So now the Steelers are keeping up with the Ravens. And they're still leading the division going into week 16. And week 16, that it was the make or break week. It was the week that really would decide the division because the Ravens had a game at the Chargers. Um which that wasn't really a home game for the Chargers because like that's the smallest stadium in the league. That was the smallest stadium in the league. Literally, the StubHub Center only holds 27,000 fans. Dude, that's by far the smallest in the league.
Yeah, weren't they playing at the soccer stadium, right?
Yeah, the StubHub
Yeah.
Center where the I think the Galaxy and
Galaxy?
LAFC play.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I didn't expect. I mean, I didn't expect too much. Now, on one hand, I wanted the Ravens to win so they could help me with my bet. But on the other hand, if the Chargers won that game, they would have got home field advantage, which would have been so weird.
Yeah, it would have. I enjoyed watching the the Chargers a lot that year as well.
Yeah, but the Chargers lost that game. Ravens won, so the Ravens move up in the first place for now. But the
Mhm.
next day, which just so happened to be my mom's birthday, the Saints played the Steelers, and the Saints were looking to lock up
Oh,
home field advantage.
that was a hard game to watch.
Hard game to watch, really.
Personally, because I was a fan of Juju. I'm gonna let you tell the story, but
Oh
that
yeah, I
ending,
thought you meant
that
like the
ending,
game overall was. I'm like, whoa, what? That was an
yeah,
exciting
that
game, but
there was a very very exciting game and one of the best games of the year. But at the end, that was almost sad to
yeah,
watch.
yeah, it was so sad, bro. But like you said, man, Juju Smith-Schuster, man, he had a fumble late in the game after the Steelers had converted a very crazy 4th and 20. You know, when teams convert on those fourth downs after they just look like they're just done for because the Steelers had three incompletions, then they had a holding penalty. That's a
Yeah,
recipe for a game-ending drive quickly.
yeah, yeah. And then for that to happen, it was just heartbreaker.
Yeah, and Antonio Brown toe tap to keep the game alive, just to see Juju Smith-Schuster fumble that ball. And I honestly didn't know what was going on. I was like, the ball's loose, but was he down? And
Yeah, that was a big thing. Yeah,
yeah, and he wasn't down, and I was like, oh my gosh, dang it. I'm like, no way. And then the camera shot, CBS was all over the Steelers bench, man.
yeah.
They were all over the Steelers bench. I'm seeing every single Steelers player just dejected. And this just so sad. And I was like, dang, man.
I bet you were almost a little bit happy though since the Steelers lost.
Yeah, I was happy for the bet. And I was happy for the Saints getting home field advantage, but man, I didn't want it to happen that way because Juju was one
Yeah,
of my favorite players, man.
yeah, mine too.
So yeah, going into the next week, it was basically doomsday for the Steelers. They had a game against the Bengals, and the Ravens had a game against the Browns. But
That was crazy.
yeah, but here's the thing: the Ravens had half a game up on the Steelers. So if both teams won, the Ravens would steal the division. But the thing was, the Colts and the Titans had their Sunday night. They had their Sunday game flexed for Sunday Night Football because the winner of that game would take the sixth seed and play the Houston Texans.
Yeah,
And the Cincinnati Bengals could not beat the Pittsburgh Steelers,
of course.
of course. So the Steelers had to rely on the Cleveland Browns of all teams, the team that I believe had just went 0-16 the previous season to beat the Baltimore Ravens so they can win the division.
That was a crazy game. That the last play is all I basically remember from that game.
Yeah, dude. And then you remember the year before that, when the Bengals beat the Ravens to knock them out the playoffs,
Yeah, dude, that that has by far been the most random division in all of football.
the AFC North.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah, so many ups and downs, man. But I'm watching the Browns Ravens game, and I'm sitting here. Baker Mayfield's got the ball, crunch time, down two. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is it gonna happen again? And Jim Nance and Tony Romo are just like, oh no, is it gonna happen again? They're such they're such a great tandem, man. I love the fact
yeah,
that CBS got them two together, man. They are iconic already.
yeah. Tony Romo has been a really, really good announcer.
Yes, he is. I think he's a better announcer than he was a football player.
Wow. Sorry, Tony, if you're listening.
Oh no,
He didn't need
he was
it.
a good football player too.
Yeah, that's almost funny to hear because Tony Romo was so like significant for the Cowboys, not as like successful significant, but as their quarterback for so many years.
Yeah, he was. It's just like he was like a cornerstone for about a decade.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He has been really a good announcer, fun to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously Baker Mayfield threw that interception to seal the division for the Ravens, And the
Mhm.
Steelers' only hope for clinching the playoff spot was for the Colts and the Titans to tie.
I hate when the NFL, like, if you're rooting for a team that is so, like, something crazy has to happen for them to make the playoffs. It's always like that one team that you're hoping gets in, but they have to have a tie, plus a team lose or upset, and then, like, crazy stuff needs to happen for that one team to make it in. Like, it's crazy how that works.
It's maddening. It really is maddening. But obviously, the Colts and the Titans did not tie. The Colts basically ran away with it because, well, it was basically just Derrick Henry. There was Blaine. It was Blaine Gabbert as the quarterback, I believe.
Yeah.
Guy.
Yeah, that was it's crazy how far they've come since.
Oh yeah, definitely. They've definitely progressed. They could very well be an AFC contender with the right pieces in the next few years. But yeah, bottom line is the Steelers not only lost the AFC North, they got bounced out of the playoffs. And I was like, I freaking won the bet. I do not believe it.
Yeah, I bet you were excited for those nice fries from
Oh
Culver's.
yeah. So the next day, obviously he couldn't give it to me the next day because that wasn't production night.
Mm.
But I was looking at him and I was like, yeah. You know
Did
how
he
you
remember
yeah,
your
of
bet?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, and he's just looking at me like, Jotham, bro. This we've obviously been keeping up with the season as the season progressed, and we're just seeing how the Steelers, if they would have won one of those games, if Ben Roethlisberger had not thrown that interception, if they had not blown that 16-point lead against the Chargers, if Chris Boswell had not slipped in Oakland, if Juju Smith-Schuster had not fumbled, we'd be having a whole different story here.
Yeah, and I guess that's the beauty of sports.
Yes, it's absolutely just beautiful, dude. And it was just like, wow. And so obviously eventually I got my fries and I was happy that I won the bet. And I took it so far, I taunted him so bad by posting a bracket, the NFL playoff bracket on Google Classroom and making it known to my friend that the Steelers were not in by including the Steelers logo outside the bracket and putting that circle with a slash on it.
Dang, you were definitely rubbing it in, but I understand. Those Culver fries are very good.
Yeah, dude, I was so hyped. I was so hyped. I was so hyped, Andrew, that I decided to post that bracket both on the first semester class and the second semester class.
So yeah, you just want it to be known.
Yeah, because the playoffs usually happen during our winter break,
Hmm.
so we couldn't come back. Like by the time we came back to school, it's wild card weekend done.
Yeah, so you just wanted everyone to let it be known that you won some Culver's fries over the break. You just needed to keep it in people's minds.
Yeah, it was absolutely hilarious, man. I loved it. But that is my 2018 Steelers bet.
That was exciting, honestly.
Yeah, the season was exciting, but the bet just made it even more exciting. Wish I could have did the same for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was that. I enjoyed the story.
Yeah, dude, you know how I come with it. But yeah, you know what you bringing next week?
You said I should probably go with an NBA story.
Yeah, I think we can switch it up. I mean, I started with a middle school basketball story. You hit me with a baseball story. I just switched it to football. So yeah, let's keep the sport change switch going.
All right, I thought yeah, I'm gonna go with an NBA story. I just need to regroup and think about which story because
There's a lot
obviously
of them.
there are there are a lot of them. So yeah, I think I'll go with an NBA story next week.
Yeah, man, can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that was really exciting. This has been top of the standings and our story time special episode number 3. Next week will be 4, and I hope you guys are enjoying these story time episodes. And yeah, follow us on our social medias. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Do all of that, and yeah, goodbye.